Hello, welcome to Lord Havoc's Marvel Champions custom content. I've got a brand new... Oh, sorry, I have to say extravaganza, otherwise Simon Hacker gets upset. Extravaganza! I've got a brand new creator spotlight for you today. I've got a couple of gentlemen. This is my first three-way spotlight. I'm very excited. We're testing the boundaries, pushing the boundaries of what tech can do for me. It's two gentlemen that have been fairly recent additions to the community, but have just really slammed out some top quality, high quality stuff in a very short period of time that has really sort of created quite a buzz in the community in terms of what they've created and how they've gone about doing it and stuff. So I'm very excited to get them on. They are, of course, I've got to make sure I say this right, Pangolin Parade. It's
you got it.
It's like a little creature, right? It's like a little armored creature. Pangolin?
Yeah, exactly. South American sort of, armadillo type thing.
Yeah. I was like, I picture them like rolling into a ball and like killing people. Hopefully that'll.
Yeah, they carry leprosy, so that's possible.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. Pangolin Parade and DungeonBlaster. How you doing, gentlemen?
Yep. Doing great.
Good. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Oh, no, it's a pleasure. A pleasure to have you. Thank you very much for joining me. If you could, let's take it in turns. We'll go alphabetical. Dungeon first. If you just sort of introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself, that'd be great.
Sure. So I'm just a lifetime gamer, pretty much. Been living my whole life, more or less, in New Mexico. Shout out to New Mexico. Playing video games, board games, card games, tabletop games. Just forever, and just love to do this kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's it. Sweet. Awesome. Thank you. And Pangolin, can I just call you like PP? Can we just go with that? Because I'm going to stuff it up.
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
All right, cool. PP. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that.
Upon reflection, maybe I don't want to go by
upon
PP
reflection
in community.
I don't think we're going to just go. We'll just.
It may be too late.
Let's just stick with Pangolin. It's fine. Okay.
But similar biography. I've always loved games of all sorts as well. Big into board games, card games, video games. And I also live in New Mexico. DungeonBlaster and I actually go way back. And one of the ways that we became friends 30 years ago was over a shared love for Chrono Trigger. It came out the year that we met. And here we are, 30 years later, celebrating Chrono Trigger still.
Yeah, and so that's awesome. So 30 years ago, Chrono Trigger comes out, and you guys meet the same time. Is it because you were like...
We're talking about it on the playground.
Oh, right. So you're at school, and you're talking about Chrono Trigger, and then bam, it's like friends forever from that.
Yeah.
That's
and
amazing.
Trading tips and that stuff. All real old school, pre-internet, just like, how do you beat this boss? How do you get past this part? Really classic stuff.
That's amazing. That is so cool. We've got people in this community that aren't even as old as you people. You guys have known each other. So there you go. Amazing.
Yeah, we've been around for a while.
Shout out to Chrono Trigger. This is what this episode's really about, because that's what you guys have decided to focus on. And like I said in my intro, you guys haven't been really part of the community for that long, but you've obviously been creating for a while, because you've got like a heap of stuff here. So what got you into...
You would think.
No?
Well, no.
You weren't creating before you come onto the community?
No, we weren't creating Marvel Champions stuff for long before we joined the community.
Right.
We kind of just ended up in it quite naturally. It seemed the thing to do was to bring it to a community and share it. That was always one of our goals.
Awesome.
But we've only been playing Champions since Wes, before Next Evolution? Is that when we got in? During the X-Men wave still?
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
And then we didn't start this project until September of 2024.
Wow. So recent.
It was the kind of thing that pretty recent. We got started pretty fast, but it was the kind of thing that started off as a joke. Like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if you could play Chrono or Frog in one of these encounters and start tearing it up? And then we started thinking about it like, well, let's design some cards and see what happens. And we kind of hit the ground running pretty fast. So yeah, it's only been about half a year since we started doing this.
That's cool. So did you do any sort of research on how to create the stuff first before you started doing it, or you just thought, bang, straight into it? Let's let's start making them on paper and stuff, or like they were, because you wouldn't, if you had before you joined the community, you wouldn't have had access to the templates. So we actually physically creating before you joined the community.
Yeah, and it was horrible. We because we just started in like a Google Doc, just coming up with stuff, and there comes a point where you've got to be able to play this stuff. You got to test it yourself, and we started by ordering blank cards and like writing on them by hand.
Wow,
I hated it. It was miserable.
Oh, but it sounds awesome though. Why is it so terrible?
Oh, just the
process of writing.
Yeah, it's a digital era. How often are you scrawling down letters on paper,
Some of the most valuable Magic the Gathering artifacts available for collectors are the original cards that Garfield wrote on to create the cards that actually designed the game and stuff.
Wow.
So keep those cards. Keep those cards. I'm just telling you. Who knows? 20 years from now, people could be like the creator of Chrono Trigger, could be, he'd probably be dead by then, but he'd be like, hey, somebody got these original cards, I've seen these cards, that'd be awesome. You never know, I'm telling you, keep them.
But yeah, it kind of just snowballed from there. It was like one of those things where, you start taking the first logical steps, and then you're like, well, okay, now we're kind of printing out slips of paper, putting them in there, but who wants to look at and play this? So we got to get some production value going. How do you make cards? And then so on and so forth until you end up here in the community on a TTS table,
Yeah.
Like this is never where we thought we'd be.
And how did you discover the community? Like, how did you stumble across it?
I think I saw it mentioned on Reddit. So I think I came here through like the champion subreddit, and then somewhere in there I discovered the community, and then somebody had posted the doc to all the templates, or the drive to all the templates. I actually found that before I found the community.
Cool. Awesome. Hitch's shout out to Hitch for his templates. Very
they're
cool.
incredible.
Oh, they're amazing. Yeah. So, did you have to learn some Photoshop skills before you started using them, or you were just bang you straight into it?
I personally did. I work with Premiere Pro a lot. I'm a film production teacher, but I really never use like Photoshop that often. So I got Photo P and an account and all that, and I've had to learn a ton to be able to do this.
Yeah, cool. Me too. I suck at those things. Suck at all those things. So having those templates was just amazing. I just nothing but respect. Cool. So let's continue the journey. So you ditch the horrible written on cards, which I'm telling you should keep, and then boom, you've got actual templated versions of them. You join the community, introduce yourselves, and you've made a huge splash, like right from the start. You introduce the Chrono Trigger to the community, and I didn't understand just why people got as excited as they did. There was quite a few people that were really excited to see the characters and stuff, because I knew nothing about them. Had no idea. Actually, I had to read the Wikipedia page just before this interview, just to sort of know what the hell I was talking about. But people got really excited about this. So why Chrono Trigger? Why to start your creative journey with this particular franchise, and knowing that it's going to be as big as it is?
Yeah,
I would just say it's just such a classic. Such a classic. People love this game. It's cult following all over the world. Well deserved. Every aspect of the game is just so perfect. The music, the art, the plot, the graphics, the play, everything is just so toned and great. And people remember these characters, and they're just like for Pangolin and I, they were kind of formative to our overall aesthetic and stuff like that, because it's just such a formative memory. It's such a classic piece.
Okay.
And we knew that people were going to be interested in these characters, and that's why one reason we want to try to get them just right is because so many people love these characters and remember them and want them to play the way they should. Yeah,
for sure. No, you've done so well. Cool. All right. So
similar for me too. Oh, sorry.
No, go. Sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say that, I was introduced to Chrono Trigger, and it's like I've never recovered. Do you know what I mean? It hit me so hard, and it had a positive on my imagination. And I've been trying to sort of work it out of my system for, the past 30 years. It hit me so hard. Dungeon and I actually played a years-long D&D game that I ran that was a lot about time travel and stuff. And that was the last time I was just trying to work what I find special about Chrono Trigger out of my system. And, we've arrived here again interacting with Chrono Trigger very directly through the medium of Marvel Champions.
Amazing. That's so awesome. I love it. I love the dedication and the fact that this property means so much. We see that quite often in the community where creators, their first projects is the thing that they've loved so much for so long, and you can really see that in the way that they try to portray them and stuff, and it's the perfect way to start. So start with the thing that you love the most, instead of the 25th iteration of Daredevil, and sort of go from there. It's awesome. Not that Daredevil's bad. I love it. Cool.
Well, and to our, I guess, discredit, we've also been like, boy, we should design a Daredevil. I think everybody's had that thought if you've been playing Champions for long.
Please don't. Please don't design.
We're going to leave it up.
I still will. No, I'm gonna do it. Sorry.
Oh, God. Anyway, that's fine. I don't hate Daredevil. I just want to throw that out there. I love Daredevil, but no. Anyway. Cool. So, Chrono Trigger, awesome. I actually, like I said, I checked out the Wikipedia page. I do actually know about the game before I had to do that. So while I was reading it, I was like, wait a minute.
It's not too late. You should check it out.
I actually know this game. Well, it's time for me to reveal that I actually own this game. I have this game on the Super Nintendo version, still with its box and rule book, in a crate in my garage.
Excellent.
So
yeah, can you believe that, Wes? Isn't that insane?
And I've never.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's incredible.
Why did I never actually put it into a system? I have no idea. It's mainly because most of my game collection is from when I worked at EB, which I think is called GameSpot in the US, or something to that effect. But yeah, cool. I used to work in a game store, so I got some of these sort of things. So, to my shame, it's still sitting there. But we'll see how it goes. Pangolin's already called dibs if I decide to sell it. So let's talk about your creation. So you've done one of the really impressive things for me. I'm judging this purely on. I'm not judging it on theme because I have no idea, but I'm judging it on sort of how it works with Marvel Champions. And one of the really cool things that you guys have done here is working the follow-up lead-in aspect of it, the way that it's so you've sort of, my interpretation is that you've designed it for a multiplayer type aspect because that's how the game works, right? It's you play multiple characters, and so you've come up with these sort of things. So
the one of the things that was like really innovative about Chrono Trigger when it came out amongst the other RPGs of its time was the double tech and triple tech system. Cool. In which character specific abilities can combine into something unique that is greater than the sum of the parts, right? And that was something that was like one of our major design goals, was to be able to represent that mechanically.
Awesome. So can you sort of elaborate a bit on the actual how it works in game, and then how you translated that into Marvel Champions?
Yeah, sure. In game, it started off more restrictive, but the game has grown so much just in the past month or two since we got on here. But what it is whenever anybody plays a lead-in, right, which is an identity-specific hero event, so that's not limited to the characters of Chrono Trigger. That's any character in Marvel Champions, right?
Cool.
The characters of Chrono Trigger who have follow-ups on many of their events can then play those in response to a lead-in. Right, so any character plays a lead-in, a Chrono Trigger character can play a follow-up, and through that logic, we arrive at the concept of a double or a triple tech, which exists in Chrono Trigger the game.
Awesome. So you haven't created a new system called lead-in. The lead-in is just your terminology for anybody who plays an identity-specific event.
Right, and just saying it there, you get a clue as to why.
Yeah.
Identity-specific event is kind of a mouthful.
Yeah,
and we just needed a shorthand for it to keep the cards a little cleaner.
Exactly right. So then you created the keyword follow-up in order to then trigger off of those things.
Respond to that trigger, right? So lead-in is our definition of the trigger, yeah. And then the response comes in as the follow-up.
Yeah, that is so clever. That's
we were
really, really cool.
Trying to look at designing some of these cards as just cards with two powers, essentially, with two different costs and two different functions. So it bakes a lot of cool versatility into all these decks, which is fun. Yeah. And it just creates some of these response chains that we were looking for to hopefully try to create some of these double and triple techs from the classic video game.
Cool. And why only identity-specific events, not just all events?
Because Chrono Trigger is like really about the characters. They're such, from the like Akira Toriyama designs to their like list of abilities in the game, are all very bespoke.
Yes.
So we were just kind of building off that, right? This is a game about individuals with very different backgrounds and experiences from across time, coming together to like team up and work together, right? And
Smart.
those identity-specific events represent, across champions generally, right? They represent the characters more purely than anything else.
That's so good. That is so good. Do either of you guys have any like sort of game design background before you started this project?
No, I mean, it's something we're just really interested in. Like Dungeon said, we've always been way into games, talked about them, and we've both done a lot of dungeon mastering.
Right.
And
D&D for sure. We're both teachers too.
Oh, okay, right. So you're both teachers, right? Okay, cool.
Yeah,
a lot of inventiveness there required, of course.
Yeah, yeah. This is so good. I respect this so much. The leading. The fact that it's restricted just to identity-specific events it makes perfect sense, because it would be OP as hell if it was every event. But it actually is also part of your identity, right? So it's just, not only is it restrictive in terms of, so just not make it ridiculous, it's also restrictive in terms of theme, right? Because these your identity cards are what are meant to represent you as the hero, right? That's the whole thing of Marvel Champions, is you become Spider-Man, and you have his 15 cards that represent everything there is meant to be as Spidey, right?
Right.
And then
Absolutely.
this follow-up thing, I just think it's just an awesome interpretation of how the game is meant to work. It's so really cool, really, really cool. Yeah, a question actually I should have asked before, and it just popped one in there. You're a design duo. How much of each thing comes from the specific creator? Like, how much design do you like choose a particular hero and like, well, so Pangolin's like, I'm gonna do Chrono, and then Dungeon then helps, or like how much of each of you is in each creation?
So we pretty much designed and play tested everything kind of together. Shout out to my twin brother Matt too, because Matt was like part of our playtesting squad.
Awesome.
So we kind of designed everything like kind of in dialogue with each other. And then we just split up the decks, like, okay, you make these cards and I'll make these cards. So we have certain decks that we're responsible for tweaking and fixing those the way they look. But we designed pretty much everything in tandem.
Yeah, and we share a lot of the like art too. Like we'll search art together as well. But to like the biggest difference is, like, for instance, Wes put together all of the cards for Chrono, Marl, Magus, and Frog, and then I put together the other cards. And you'll notice on there, if you look through some of the cards, some of it's pixel art, right? And we compiled that like pixel art from Spriter's resource, which is an old resource that's been around for a long time, that creates all these sprite sheets for old school games, right? And we didn't want to take screenshots from the game. Also, it's just you're so limited if you're taking a screenshot from the game, and we wanted to capture, movement or certain moments of action. And the only way to do that was to sort of put these cards together. So like you're on Marl's Ice right now. If you like look at that, Dungeon put that together. So picking a background and then cutting out the sprites in like Photoshop, putting the effects on. So we really kind of built those from the ground up.
Wow. So
all that pixel art you see was a lot of handiwork.
Little sprite by sprite.
That's amazing. So is there an app? Did you just, I think you just mentioned an app. Was there an app that helped you do that?
I use an app called Clip Studio.
I use Photo.
And I've been like into digital art kind of for a while, so I've got some experience with that.
So this is not actually a screenshot from the game. This is you recreating what would be a shot in the game.
Yep, none of them are, too. There's no screenshots in the game. All pixel art was assembled by us.
Insane. Oh my god, that's awesome. Because that just looks beautiful. That is just beautiful.
Once we figured it out, once we kind of got the process down, it wasn't too bad to make each shot, but it was fun actually.
Yeah.
Because then you have complete control over each element, which is kind of fun.
Wait, I've got a question. What the hell does this provoke picture meant to be? Is she like slapping her butt at them or something? What's going on there? What is she doing?
She
Nailed it.
That's exactly what she did. We did not come up with that.
Okay, moving on. Quickly moving on. All right, just be honest. All right, so haste, yeah, okay. Aura. Oh, this is just unbelievable. Because that was going to be one of my follow-up questions.
The healer.
Oh, Marl's awesome. She's my favorite character. In the brief knowledge that I gained from the Wikipedia page.
She's great.
So, I mean, I love the sass. This has just blown my mind. It's because I actually thought this was sort of like digitally enhanced shots from the games. So maybe from like the Windows version, which is like the enhanced version to that sort of stuff. But no, this is actually just recreated. It's just that is just amazing.
Blank canvas, and then pulling in assets from Spriter's resource and assembling them, and then whatever effects and changes we need to commit to get the look right.
Yeah. Wow.
Which gave us a lot of creative freedom, which was nice. So a lot of these effects don't look exactly like this. We've embellished a bit here and there for our purposes, but pretty true to
you have to, right? You have to. One of my favorite elements is the hero cards. How you've got sort of like a picture of like an artistic rendition of the actual character sort of superimposed over a shot from the game itself. That is very classic games sort of look. It's
where they come from. Everybody's oriented around their like home in the game itself where you first encounter them.
Oh, so that's the princess's castle, is it? Oh, I see. Right. Okay, I get it. Cool.
Yep.
So Chrono's, that's the island he comes from or something, is it? Right.
Yeah, he's got a little house over there. That's
Marl's got the nighttime shot, and the flip side of that is also the nighttime shot on her hero side at the fair.
Oh,
and then she's in it. So we agreed on a sort of like a design standard, which was the like hero sides would be the hero superimposed over a world map shot of where they live, and then the alter ego sides would be them over some sort of interior that is related to them. We wanted there to be some consistency across the game artistically. We treated it like a wave. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like FFG would do. So we wanted there to be some consistency.
Yeah, I've been
like Frog's in its hovel.
Yeah, I've been highlighting Marl a lot because he's my favorite. But Frog, I just got to highlight him because he's just awesome. Look at this. Look at this. What a champion. It says, he's a dude who got turned into like a frog, right? Kind of like Thor when he becomes.
Yeah, that's right. By Magus, by one of our other characters.
Yeah. Very sweet.
Yep.
Very, very cool. All right, I think you've actually even got Magus because Magus during the game he's a villain that becomes a hero character at some point, right? So you made a hero for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you elect not
classic
to
redeemed villain.
Redeemed villain type stuff. Okay. Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I saw I got some of the aspect cards over here. I got the Millennial Fair, and I'm an old man, so I instantly thought, wait, the bloody millennials ruin everything. No, it's obviously
that was originally part of Chrono's kit, but we kind of moved on from it.
Yeah, and the actual Chrono Trigger itself.
But it's still cool as an aspect card.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I love it. Let's go here. All right, so as the proud designers that you are, want to go through? Let's grab an actual character and sort of go through it. What I really like to touch on in these spotlights is the creation process. Why that ability? Why did you choose to reflect it in that particular way? Or, it had what was it? Was there an original version of it that you had to sort of tone down? And how do you make them all? And the most important question, so I've sort of thrown a whole bunch of questions at you, will be, if you've designed a multiplayer game, how do you work it so that they actually complement each other? That sort of stuff. So, let's go. Somebody, one of you pick here.
Sure.
It's hard to do a three-way conversation.
I can talk about Chrono for a minute.
All right, let's
go
for
it. We're hype on Chrono at the moment anyway.
Chrono, do it.
Yeah, we just updated Chrono. So the way we kind of looked at these was we started with the text from Chrono Trigger, like we said, and it was how can we turn these texts into events? So that's kind of where we started. Is how can we take their various spells and things, lightning, cyclone, cleave, frenzy. These are all his events, and these are spells in the game. And then for some spells that were kind of hard to represent or something, we were well, can this be a hero ability or an alter ego ability or something else? So Chrono ended up getting Wind Slash as a hero ability, and that gave us a cool idea for trying to represent some of his gameplay in the game, which, as people know, Chrono just shreds stuff with a sword, and he gets mad critical hits, and he's not overly complicated, so we would just want him to keep him simple and have a fun ability where he can deal extra damage and hit these criticals, but also cast all of his various spells from the game.
Okay, cool.
And it kind of like oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, yeah, like Wes said, Chrono's really straightforward. At the end of the game, like once you've got the rainbow sword, one of your best tactics with Chrono, he's really fast, is to just mash the A button. That is, just confirm basic attacks, and Chrono's going to hit a crit 75% of the time. Right. So being able to represent that through Chrono's basic attack ability was really important to us, and we've got a core of cards that allow you to achieve that with regularity.
Yep. Okay. So part of the game is that you need to find their weapons, right? Like their special things, not necessarily weapons, but correct me if I'm wrong, but you need to find something that's specific to them that enhances them in some way, right? So Chrono's got Rainbow and Frog's got Masumi or whatever, Masasumi or whatever.
Masamune, yeah.
Masamune, yeah. Like that sort of thing. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're just, it's like
that is one thing we wanted to keep common.
Go for it, Dungeon.
Yeah.
Something you wanted to keep common.
Yeah, we wanted to just keep this idea where all the weapons, each character has a weapon or a cool upgrade, and it's kind of represents some of their ultimate equipment from the game. Because every RPG, like Pangolin was saying, has this cool aspect where some heroes have this awesome piece of equipment that really optimizes their gear and their kit.
Right. And the cards are obviously named after their abilities, right? So Chrono has the ability Cyclone in the game itself, right? Was it easy to sort of translate what that does into Marvel Champions terms?
Sometimes, but the thing about Chrono Trigger is it's like a very good RPG, but like everything does damage. Like every tech, with a few exceptions, like Marl's got some supporting stuff, Robo and Frog do too, Ayla, but it's mostly just different forms of damage that need to improve as the game goes by to scale with the difficulty, right? So that was our big challenge. First of all, was a lot of these we could represent easily as damage dealers, but then like what else is going on and what distinguishes them from one another?
Right. Okay. With the balance aspect, right? So let's look at Chrono, for example, right? I'm not being critical. I'm asking the questions based in terms of how Marvel Champions works and stuff, right? So you've got Chrono, who is a fighter, and yet only one card is a spell. Is that because that's to sort of keep to theme of the game, that it is actually a spell in the game? Why does he not have more spells to sort of balance out the fact that you've actually got a spell?
So in the game, Chrono, he can be a caster, and you can build up his magic if that's what you want to do, and he does have spells. The same amount of spells as anybody else, really. Right. But in the game, he also kind of leans just toward being a warrior and being that fighter and swinging that sword. Okay. So we kind of just wanted to highlight more on that aspect, because we had to pick certain archetypes to kind of lean into with some of these guys.
Right.
Because in the game, you have a certain amount of freedom of like, okay, this time I'm going to build Magus as a warrior, or I'm going to build Robo as a caster or whatever. So we kind of had to lean into certain things, and Chrono, he definitely leaned more. We wanted him to be that warrior type of guy.
So Chrono, the game itself, does have that aspect, as you can build your, I guess your build, right? Like RPG aspect of build, towards warrior or more towards spellcaster, or like a combination of the both.
It's more
like a little bit, just with your equipment and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we actually, like, Chrono's got the progression for like magic spells in Chrono 2 is like element 1, element 2, and then sometimes some sort of ultimate expression of that. So Chrono has lightning 1, lightning 2, and his ultimate ability is Luminaire, which you'll note is conspicuously absent. Right. And that was the thing that we had on our design sheets early on. It was like, oh, well, we got to have Luminaire, right? It's like, it's probably the best magic spell in the entire game, right down to like the base game mechanics of like the bonuses it's getting behind the scenes on like the technical document, and we eventually were surprised to find ourselves cutting it, but at the same time it seemed like the absolute right thing to do, and we didn't hesitate to do it once we had settled into Chrono as a samurai sort of thing. It was like, he doesn't need Luminaire, he doesn't need lightning 2, right? This is a guy with a sword. And he means
Amazing.
business.
All right, so we're getting into the design aspect now. This is awesome. So you intentionally cut. So you had to make the decision. It's like the MC version of him is going to reflect the samurai fighter type, sort of archetype, the fighter, instead of the spellcaster. So you had to cut a spell that you both love and is awesome, but in order to make it fit, you had to cut it.
Yep.
That's
the way it goes sometimes. Yeah.
That's just the way it goes. Yeah, exactly right.
And
okay.
just like we just looked at the fair, the fair got cut. There were a few Chrono cards that got cut just because you start to see what the build needs and how to really fit to a certain thing that you're trying to do.
Okay.
Yeah, eventually you're working in service to the build, and it's like it's not that you lose control of it. It's just that there's something that, comes up naturally out of the process, and you're like, oh, well, this is what this should be, especially in relation to other characters. And then you're like, okay, something like Luminaire, Millennial Fair, these don't belong here. And we were happy to cut them because it made sense.
Okay. And so translating the game to the card game. So let's look at Chrono's ability, right? When you make a basic attack, discard the top card of your deck for each card with a printed energy or wild resource. Discarded this way, this attack deals 2 additional damage, right? So if you discard the basic resource energy, you're getting 4 additional damage, right? But how does that translate to what happens in the game? In the actual video game, when he makes a basic attack, can you spend resources to power up his attacks?
Well, quick correction.
So this is supposed to be our expression.
Oh, go ahead, Wes. Yeah.
Oh, just that this is supposed to be us interpreting like the idea of a critical hit, sort of like Chrono was a beast with a sword, and he had this rainbow sword that hit these really big criticals. So this is the idea of like you have a chance when you do a basic attack that it could explode for extra damage. Just like in the game, if you make a regular attack, you could get the critical, and it's going to do extra damage. So this is us trying to mimic that kind of video game mechanic with the cards.
Okay. And I've just reread it, and I was obviously wrong with the energy resource. You wouldn't get 4 damage. You'd only get 2. My apologies. That was me reading.
But there is a way to do that with the rainbow, which is part of this like critical slash.
That's right. Yeah, rainbow. Yeah, so rainbow says you discard an additional card. Yeah, that's cool. That's very, very
So what that lets you do is like if you make a win slash attempt and you miss it, say you turn over a strength or something, you can flip another one with rainbow. But at the same time, if you hit an energy or a wild, you can flip another one and get a little extra damage if you're lucky,
Yeah. So you guys started with Next Evolution, you said, but did you then did you go back and then just buy everything before that to sort of get a bit of an idea of all the different mechanics and stuff? Because you've obviously got you're obviously very well. What's the word? The words has totally got in my brain. You obviously know a lot. You've obviously got big brains and stuff about the actual like mechanics of the game, right? Like like how the game works and how it should work and how it shouldn't work. I mean, that's very obvious just from these cards alone. So did you have to research all the other cards?
We've definitely played. We've played everything together at this point, except for Shield. But Pangolin and I have played every campaign, every mod and encounter together. So we've got that foundation to kind of build upon too, which is like and we made similar observations throughout it, where like we built certain decks and we can observe certain things that are fun, that are like feel good, and we were trying to emulate some way. But
okay.
And Dungeon's played a lot with his wife, and my wife is not as into champions, so I've played a lot of solo or two-handed. So we've got a lot of experience together playing and apart, and we've played through all the campaigns except for Shield so far, and nearly all the characters at this point. So it was just putting in reps there. That helped tremendously. I don't think we could have done it at all without having played a lot first. But when we picked it up, we both went crazy for it, and had complete collections within the space of, well, I'd rather not say.
Okay, cool. Well, I've only just started playing Shield myself because I got delayed in Australia. So screw you, distributors.
Oh man!
But I've just started. I just beat Black Widow last night, and yeah, she was a lot of fun.
Oh, cool.
She was a lot of fun.
Oh, nice.
Looking forward.
Yeah, we're gonna take on MODOK after this, I think.
Okay, cool, awesome. I love MODOK. MODOK's in my own Hydra Unleashed campaign because I love him so much. All right,
cool.
so as a designer myself, I've got a design question for you. Again, this is not a criticism. I'm just interested in why you went down this path. So you've designed these to be played as multiplayer, right? That's in your design spec, right? It's just the intention is to play as much multiplayer with these characters as you can. With that being said, they have identity-specific allies, like most heroes do. But if I do play multiplayer Chrono and Mal, then that means I can't play the Mal ally and vice versa, right? Because Mal's ally is Chrono. Is there a way around that?
Yeah.
Have you done? Did you think about that in the design process? And is there something you've done to sort of combat that?
No, Havoc, and it just sucks.
Oh!
That was because we wanted it to, and they're all playable solo. That was a real thorn in our side, and I'm like, caused some mild resentment throughout the design process, where we'd look at an ability and we're like, oh, this only matters or makes sense if you're playing two-handed or with another person. Right. And we have to go back and revise it to make it playable solo.
Okay.
But also just like, theme has been our sort of North Star, and a lot of these characters started out to an almost like simulationist degree where we're like really accurately representing something from the fiction of the game, but it like was not good for Marvel Champions. Like our first iteration of Frog Squash is like just like it is in the game, profoundly terrible card in Marvel Champions, and we had to eventually correct for that. But with these like signature allies, we just love the characters so much that some of them had to have those signature allies. Some of them don't. Frog is married to his sword, but Chrono had to have Marl. Their meeting in the game, it sets off all the action, and to have a Chrono deck without Marl and a Marl deck without Chrono was unthinkable to our tastes.
Can I offer some advice?
Please do.
It's my show, so I'm going to anyway. My sort of house rule for this is if we're playing multiplayer here, and it's when I say we, I mean me, because my wife hates these games, so I'm playing on my own. If I replace the signature ally with a team up card, if it exists. So I would love to see some Chrono team up cards from you guys that you can then use in place.
I'm glad you mentioned it because we've talked about this before too. Because this like tech system we've built is so flexible and so open that it's like kind of doing the work of like a team up card anyway. Because we thought those were a little constraining at times, but I think there's a case to be made absolutely for building some team up cards for these guys. I would love to do that.
Awesome. There you go.
That's a good house rule too.
You heard it here first, folks. If team up cards suddenly show up, that's because of me. I love
that's a good idea.
Frog Squash picture is hilarious. Why is it so bad? Deal 6 damage on 1 enemies if you have sustained 6 damage. Deal 1 damage.
Well, no, it rules now.
Yeah, no.
But let me tell you what it used to be.
What's so bad about it?
It didn't start off like that.
Oh, okay.
It was because in the game, like the lower your HP is, the more damage Frog Squash does, right? Because that's Frog's ultimate ability. It's also hilarious. He drops a giant prismatic frog on the enemy, so we knew we had to have that one, and it was easy to represent mechanically in Champions. We were just like, do damage equal to how much damage you've sustained. But as you know, playing Champions, how often are you dipping down to 1 or 2 HP unless things are going really bad? And then you would have to have the card in your hand, and then it also cost 4 because it had the capability early on to do 10 or 11 damage, and we were like, that's a lot of damage. But in practice, that was not good. You would never play it. Our early play testers, I remember one of them was quite frank. This is why you shouldn't hesitate to give us any feedback. Is they were like, one of the first notes we got on Frog Squash was, quote, that it was straight doo-doo, I believe, is what we heard.
Was that from one of the MC4 community members? Is somebody?
Yeah.
I think I know who it was.
It was Zero Blast or Bubblegum. I'm not sure which one, but they were like, it's straight doo-doo. And I just had to concede the point, right? And then Wes and I were talking, and I was like, have you ever played Frog Squash in a test game? And we were both like, no, we never played testing.
Yeah.
Because it was expensive and it was never in your hand at the right time. And honestly, Frog is really capable of just standing up and brawling and staying in hero form and not losing too much HP. So it was not a good card, even though it was exactly how it functions in the game.
Right. But now it's awesome. So how did it evolve into this? With one of the coolest pictures ever. I mean, that's ridiculous.
So that's kind of how we looked at a bunch of stuff when we made these events and these cards and stuff, is we tried to build stuff that was as close to the video game as we could get it, or it sort of made sense to represent the video game first, And then we looked at it like, okay, but is this a good effect in Marvel Champions? Like Frog Squash, like he said, it's easy to build it. Like you can see it, you can imagine the rules. It's right there.
Yeah.
But then you don't need that card really. So
and it's never in your hand at the right time anyway, you know?
That's always the worst.
So yeah, we
kind of allowed ourselves to get further and further away from that initial design, and like at first trying to stay as close to the game as we could. We've kind of allowed ourselves to get more space away from it too, and get just more creative and different with some of the cards.
But while keeping that identity intact. Yeah. We've always been narrative first, and I think that comes from, you know, our D&D background too, and just a love of the property. Yeah. I always, when doing something creative, I like to start with like the narrative, the theme. That's what's like so interesting to me. It's exciting to me, and it gives me a lot of good ideas, and it kind of fences me in, which I need. You can't have like no boundary when being creative. Me personally, I like to create some walls first, and then I can really flourish within that. That's awesome. But we've often talked about how this process has been like, we've started, if you imagine a spectrum, right? We've started way off to one side on narrative and on theme, and then feedback and the process of reiteration, we've had to creep further towards the other side of that, which is like, you know, sound, fun, playable Marvel Champions mechanics. And that's just been this constant compromise. But we always started like bang over as far into theme as we could, because that's what was exciting to us. And then we've just moved further and further in the other direction until you find a compromise. And now these heroes not only represent, I think, their identities well as Chrono Trigger characters, but we found a kind of new angle on them through this design process as like Marvel Champions characters. And I actually love all these characters more now than I did when we started this process, which I did not think was possible.
How is that possible?
Just adoration. Yeah,
that's amazing. And feedback is such an important part of. You touched on it a second. Feedback is such an important part of this process, and you've been very vocal in the community, which is how I even know that you exist. Right? Is that you're and I don't mean vocal in a rude way. I mean you're just very active, and asking questions. Contributing to conversations and stuff, and that's how this something like this Discord community operates. We need people like you. I mean, you're always very friendly. You're always very helpful. You're maintaining that connection with people. And these people then, play your stuff, give you feedback and stuff. You mentioned Bubble. I know Bubble's a big fan of this sort of stuff, and just loves all of this raves about this sort of stuff. So thank you for that. I really appreciate the just how vocal and sort of active you guys are.
Oh yeah, it's been great.
Yeah,
we didn't know what to really expect when we jumped in here. Like, I don't even have really experience with Discord at all. Like, I just got Discord for this,
right?
And we thought like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool if like people engage with this stuff, and wouldn't it be cool if they liked it? And sure enough, some people did. And like you said, that feedback is just totally invaluable. It's so important, and we've our cards look totally different now than they did when we came on even just like 2 months ago or something. Yeah. And they're so much better now, so it's just been super fun.
Amazing.
And that's part of our high level of activity, I think, is because we feel like we want to honor not just the property, the game itself, which we love so much, but what the community has done, the feedback they've given us. So we've tried to be really responsive, because it's we've got an audience now, and these are people who are willing to, before we even got TTS, Zero was loading in all these cards into TTS so that he, Bubble, and Blast could play, right? Yeah. And that's not a small amount of labor, and we'd make updates, and they would update TTS. So you're in this dialogue with your players, and we felt like we owe it to them and the community by extension to give something back, and that at a minimum is just being responsive game designers and listening to people and responding to feedback and making changes. And beyond that, I try to be an art request too. I want to give back there, so I do some photoshopping for people whenever I can. Just because I think the community is so wonderful, I'm eager to help out.
I was going to bring that up as well. Yeah, art requests. Art requests is so important. Quite a lot of the people in this community, dare I say it, a bit obsessed about the quality of the art on these cards, and it's so helpful to anybody who actually takes part of the art request channel. I mean, I use it, so I desperately need it.
Oh.
So
And we're certainly serious about the look of our cards too. So
yeah,
I get it.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, you guys. I mean, all these cards look beautiful. They just look beautiful.
Chrono Trigger is just so beautiful. Yeah, you gotta represent it. You gotta bring it. These cards can't look shabby. They can't look.
Yeah. You
gotta showcase it.
I'm glad we got Frog up because this is the greatest border. I absolutely listeners of the show will know that I'm obsessed with border breaks. When the art breaks the border, I just love it. I don't care. Although I'll bring Ayla back up in a second because I got a question about her. But I don't think it's awesome. And this is one of the greatest border breaks I've ever seen. This Knight's Guard card here.
Nice, thank you.
It's just so cool. I can't describe it. It's so awesome. I don't know why I love it so much. Really, really cool. And there's like the colors schemes that you've chosen for them, and they all just make so much sense. They're all so very, very cool.
Yeah, that's
speaking of some of this art and stuff.
Please, Wes.
We got artist credits on all this stuff.
Yes, I noticed that as well.
We wanted to make sur that all these artists.
Yeah, so it's Tenko.
So there it is. Yeah,
soft. Yeah, Mike Lunsford. Why has she got a gun? What's that about?
It's kind of a crossbow. You can see.
Is it a crossbow? It is a crossbow. You're right. It is a crossbow. Okay.
Who's got a gun? Oh, Marl.
I'll let that go. Yeah, Marl's got a gun in his head. Like, what's going on? Marl's going all sick.
Yeah, some of these artists we came back to a couple times. So
yeah, there's a few repeats on here, but it was really important for us to credit all these artists. And get their names on the cards. Mike
Lunsford is this just like custom mark work that Mike's done, or are they done a comic or something, or where does that come from? Like Luca, for example.
Who is that? Who are you talking about?
Mike Lunsford.
Which card?
Luca.
That one I think we found on DeviantArt, maybe.
DeviantArt, yeah.
Oh, over here, like basic Lucca.
Yeah, leadership. Well, she's red, but she's
aggression Lucca. Oh, whoops.
Oh, aggression Lucca.
It says it's aggression, but it says leadership. It's got red.
Boy, good catch.
Yeah. So that's Luke Lucca. Sorry, Lucca. Yeah, time traveler. Which is Mike Lunsford, and that looks cool. That looks so cool. That picture. It's like from a cartoon.
Yeah, it's incredible, the fan art that's out there and that has been floating around for these 3 decades. So yeah, it was just really cool to be able to dig for this stuff and find things that worked and highlight the artists and what they've done to capture the characters.
That's so cool.
And it was perfect too, because we started doing this right as Chrono Trigger 30th anniversary is dropping this March. It was 30th anniversary, and then a bunch of art came out online to coincide with that. So it was kind of perfect for us.
Oh, great!
Yeah, some of these cards have art that came out like a month ago.
Wow,
very, very recent art on some of these cards.
What about this jet bike? This jet bike looks sick. I love it so much.
That's Akira Toriyama. That's the original artist for Chrono Trigger, who designed all these characters as well as Dragon Ball. He's most famous for Dragon Ball.
Dragon Ball. That's it.
Yeah.
I saw the look of their faces, and I'm like, that looks like Dragon Ball. And I didn't want to say anything though because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, cool, awesome, yeah. Very, very cool. All right, go back to
all the hero cards are the Toriyama art.
That's with the exception of Ayla.
Ayla clearly isn't. Ayla, I like the fact that she's like meant to be like a Neanderthal type character, and that she looks like a model. Like, what's that about?
Yeah, well, she's just a real like prehistoric bombshell.
Bombshell. That's
her vibe.
That's the perfect thing. That should be on the card somewhere. I'm a prehistoric bombshell. What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, maybe that should be on the card. That's pretty good.
Geez, no kidding, right, Wes? We might find one for that.
Does she say that?
Yeah, write that one down.
Say that in the game?
No, but they ought to.
I mean, look at her.
Chrono's definitely thinking it.
She looks like Kate Upton. Amazing, love it. Cool. So, what's the future of this project? Is there more Chrono Trigger stuff coming out? I would really love to see. What I don't see on here is some scenarios. Are we planning some scenarios?
I mean, we have an entire
We would love to. Yeah, we're kind of looking
sequence, but it's a big order, and we haven't done scenario design, so that'll be really. We've got a lot of ideas, but we haven't started it in earnest, I would say, yet.
And will they take the form of like boss battle type situations, like per the game? Or are you going to sort of dive into? Oh man, imagine a campaign of scenarios based on the multiple different endings you can get for the game and stuff. My God, that's like a 5-year project.
That's a wild idea.
Just just quit your jobs and create the campaign.
We do have some we wanted to do more with the encounters instead of just a straight boss fight. That's something we've actually talked about a lot, because Chrono Trigger also features these beautiful dungeons along the way with just fantastic layouts and great art and architecture that have as much personality as the bosses themselves. So we came up with these different sorts of encounters that are not just two sides of a boss, like a 1 and a 2.
Yeah.
But either the first one is like a dungeon which leads into a single phase boss, and this allows you to set up.
Cool.
And then that second half, that boss is more challenging, and one where you fight the boss immediately and then you're trying to get out of the dungeon. So that's something we're working on, along with conventional champions encounters that are 1-2 sort of boss fight for the big bosses like Magus who demand your attention.
You guys have got such a firm grasp of the mechanics. I have no doubt that the scenarios will be awesome as well. Scenarios are much harder to make than heroes, in my opinion.
I believe it, yeah.
Yeah, but you've trying to get the balance right and stuff. It's bloody hard.
For sure, I can see that.
Yeah, but you guys, like I said, it's just such a firm grasp. I mean, it's just all of these guys that I've seen. I was looking at the table before we started. I haven't actually play tested any of them, but I will, because they all just seem to just work. They all click, which I really, really love. I really respect that. So yeah, some scenarios would be sick. I actually tried to do a dungeon-based scenario myself once.
Oh, sweet.
Set in the Star Wars universe, and it's hard. Bloody hell.
Oh, cool.
It's so bloody hard. So I'd be very interested to see what you guys come up with in terms of how to make that sort of mechanic work. And there's another creator on here as well. Oh my God, the name's suddenly gone from my head. They're actually like you guys. They're like a double act. What are their names?
Are you talking about Reuven and Dylan?
Reuven and Dylan, yeah. They create some game stuff as well. They've got Bowser's Castle or something, which is pretty cool. So yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned them, because they've been, again with Bubble Zero and Blast, Reuven and Dylan. Is it Dylan?
I think it's Dylan.
I'm not sure how to pronounce them.
Yeah.
It's Dylan. Okay.
Yeah.
They have given us a ton of critical feedback too.
Awesome.
And some of that feedback that maybe makes you feel a little defensive initially. You know what I mean?
Oh.
But that's part of the process. You need that really blunt feedback. You need people to tell you, this is not working. This is not a good card. And that hurts you a little bit. At first, it stings, as I'm sure you know, because you're like, well, we really like this card,
I've had that.
You're like, no, we got to seriously entertain this. I'll tell you one thing. Big credit to Reuven.
Yeah.
Previously, this system of techs was all trait coded, and certain events were techniques, and you could only follow up techniques, and only Chrono Trigger characters had techniques, right? So if you were to blend Chrono Trigger characters with other champion characters, there'd be no way to follow up Iron Man or whatever. You know what I mean? The follow-ups, half the card for all these events would be useless.
Gotcha.
And Reuven came in one time and was like, hey, why don't you not do that? And we were like, wait, what? And we thought about it, and it was one of those things where we were like, oh my God, this SOB is right. This guy just came in, walked onto our pages. We're like, why don't you do something different that's better, actually? And we were like, he's freaking right. And it actually wasn't a big change, but it had a massive ripple. But we were just, we had a little bit of tunnel vision for this thing we'd set up. And Reuven came in and was like, what if you did it this way? Yeah. And it blew our whole system open, and it agrees much better with the rest of the Marvel Champions ecosystem. So it was just one of those things that was just mind blowing, because it's why didn't we think of that? And it was massively helpful.
Yeah, feedback is an interesting beast. It's how you give it is just as important as the feedback that you're giving. And I've had this conversation with almost every creator that I've spoken to in these spotlights. It's there are some people on the community that unfortunately have a very sort of abrupt nature that's not really well suited for feedback. But quite often, though, it's the feedback turns out to generally be pretty good.
Still be good feedback, yeah.
And it's interesting. It's interesting how you sort of have to learn how to sort of handle that. It really depends on who you are as a person, I guess, because you're not going to be able to change them, I guess. And so It's a double-edged
Yeah, but
sword.
it's like Inception or something. Like once that idea gets in your head and you start to see something, you're like, oh,
yeah.
yeah.
The important factor of feedback, though, is to not take feedback. Right? You need to know when the tunnel vision is hampering your design, but you also need to know when your vision is your vision. Goddammit, and nobody should be telling you differently. So it's knowing when to take feedback is just as important, I think. Don't let other people tell you how to design your thing. They can go make their own goddamn thing and just leave your thing alone.
Well, and we've had this tension between our testing groups because we had our guys who started, right. And then Reuven and Dylan got in, and then sometimes these two camps do not agree, and then we really have to sit there and be like, okay, we're getting like completely contradictory feedback on the same card from two people who like are invested in this.
Yes.
Right. And then there's us. And you're right. It's hard to triangulate. Like, what is the right thing to do here when someone is going to be disappointed, and sometimes that person is you.
Yeah. So you're so right. I had an experience fairly recently where I got quite a lot of feedback about one of my heroes, and it was from people that I trusted and respected, and so I made all those changes, and then after all the changes, I was like, well, this is now not what I wanted, and now I hate it, and I don't care about this character anymore. So, but then
that's heartbreaking.
Yeah. So the flip side is actually, but I recently had a just recently
balance is tricky.
Had a character, and I was like, this is not quite working for me. So I asked some creators that again I trust and respected, and I took on board everything they said and changed it to what it was, and now they're awesome. So it's such a delicate balance. It's really quite amazing, and that's why this community is so awesome. There's some bad eggs, just like in every community in the world, but they're few and far between. The majority of the people in this community are passionate, talented people like yourselves who just want to create the best thing that they can create and have fun and help others. And that's why I spruik this community as much as I can, because it's an honor.
And that's something I'm really excited about, actually, is trying to getting into other people's more stuff. I haven't had a chance to look around as much as I've wanted to other creator stuff, and giving other people some feedback and trying to create that same level of engagement with other people's stuff as well. So that's something I'm looking forward to doing after we finally try to get this Chrono Trigger stuff nailed down.
Yeah, because we have just been spending so much time with this. Like, Dungeon and I have had the doc and the Discord open for the better part of 6 months. The doc in particular, there's like 1,500 comments in there that represent the like over 1,000 ideas we've had that get boiled down to so many cards. So we've been just working on this so much that again, I haven't had a chance to look around as much as I'd like. But if you think like you sitting down to this and being like, oh wow, Dungeon and Pangolin know what they're doing, they're clever, they understand the game, that's like only because of this like feedback process. If we'd come in here, and we did actually, we came onto the Discord, we didn't know any better, and we were like, man, these things are released, just drop this bomb on here, these things are ready to go, and then very quickly you learn that you're nowhere near it. And that's a good thing. That ended up being a very good thing.
And you've got people that are so excited for this project. I mean, it's the first time I ever met you, PP, was when I was in a group chat, and you jumped in to announce that you've made a change, and everybody in the chat was, because funnily enough the people in the chat were Bubble, Blast, Zero,
that's right,
Run Boy or whatever, and they were so excited. I was because I'd seen your name sort of pop up quite often a bit in sort of like the chat and sort of stuff, and when you announced the project and stuff like that, so I knew who you were, but this was the first time I'd actually heard you, and seeing their excitement like got me intrigued. So I got to be, because I initially dismissed the project completely because I was like, I don't know anything about this game. I don't really play video game characters. I really have no idea what it was at. But seeing all their excitement, people that I like, I love those guys, and I was like, wow, now I'm into it. And so I jumped into it. I went onto the creator page and the headquarters, and eventually you made a TTS, which was great, and then jumped on there, and I was like, oh my god, this is just so good. It's just so good. You guys are,
I'm so glad we won you over.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Plus you were very nice in there. I was like, hey, nice to meet you. You're like,
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's just.
And if you can find time to play the Chrono Trigger game on your SNES in the garage, then even better.
Who knows if it even still works? It's been there for who knows.
And Havoc, I remember that pop-in. Because for the longest time, every card you see here that has the spell tag, and you're like, that's obvious, right? Marvel Champions has spell. Like, why wouldn't you have it? They all used to be called Magic because that's what it's called in the game.
Yeah.
And early on, they were like, why don't you just make this spell? And we were like, no, it's called Magic. You use Magic in Chrono Trigger. You don't cast spells. So that day, I popped in to be like, all right, guys, we caved. Everything that once was magic is now spell.
That's
and
what
I think
it was.
That's why they exploded.
That's what it was. Yeah, you were like, yeah, we finally gave in, and they were like, yeah, and I was like, what are you talking about? Yeah, it was great. It was
Dude,
awesome.
I'd gone so far to, and you can see it up here.
Yeah.
I made all the custom art for the Mystic sets. Like I put all these together, and I changed all their tags to magic initially. I was like, listen, you can have this. We'll give you access to this whole Mystic and spell set, but they're going to be called magic, you know. And then, reversed that almost immediately and had to re-export all these cards.
I'm surprised you didn't go all the way and change his quote. So now it should say, spells needs power of the heart. Instead of magic. Don't do that. Another awesome border break. Look at this little energy creature guy. How cute.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite border breaks, I think.
Love it.
In the set. I love him. He's
It
adorable.
looks like he's just sitting there.
Yeah, sitting on the edge of the card, just taking it easy.
He's like, hey, dude, it's called Mystic. Don't stop calling it magic. Like, what are you doing? I love it. I don't normally go for cutesy, but I'm getting older. I'm more into cutesy now. I don't know what it is.
The same thing has happened to me. Something about growing older, having children.
Yeah.
I like cute things, actually.
20-year-old me would have looked at this prog card and said, what the hell is this crap? But now I'm like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, by the time I'm like 70, I'm going to look at this frog and cry. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a little guy. Why did we call him a monster?
Why did you call him a monster? What did he do to you? He's just trying to live his life. It's all good.
He's gonna squash. That's what he's gonna do.
You've named a bunch of creators and stuff. Is there any other names you want to drop, sort of creators or creations that have inspired you or sort of helped you along the journey?
Actually, there's one I'd like to shout out. I've been using a website to create all my cards. It's a website by Landstander, so I just wanted to shout out because that website's been really easy to use and makes nice cards. So
very cool. Awesome.
Yeah, I for my part, like I said, and Dungeon said too, we haven't had as much time to look around as we like, but like every time I do, I'm impressed, which is really cool. That like the average quality of what people in the community are putting out is pretty astonishing. It's not just a bunch of chicken scratch on like low quality JPEGs that have been copied over and over again. Like the art is good, the mechanics are sound. It's been really cool to look around. I will say, just on like production value and from what I've glimpsed of it, Inkwire's Ninja Turtle stuff is like crazy. Like I really want to play that when we've got some time. Dungeon and I were talking about printing it out once we get all our Chrono Trigger stuff printed, because we like to play in person,
Yeah.
But that stuff looks really neat.
Yeah, it looks so cool. I would just print it right out.
It is. It's a benchmark for quality. Inkwire's universe of cards. It's pretty amazing stuff. And printing out is the highest compliment you could give somebody in one of their creators, I think, in my opinion, because I don't have access to a commercial printer. Like I would have to take it to like a store and have it printed, and I'm not rich. I can't afford to do that.
We're looking at ordering,
Yeah, so to order from like MB Printers.
I remember Penguin and I, we looked at like 2 cards, I think, of Inkwire's TMNT stuff, like 2 different cards, and we were like, yep, print it. It looks awesome. Like,
I just recently had one of the...
And that's, like you said, that's kind of the standard we've been looked at. Like, our stuff needs to at least try to look this good. Like, that's kind of the bar we've been kind of looking at for some stuff.
If someone's willing to pay to print your set out, and it's not cheap, then that's amazing. Yeah, I recently had one of the community members print out one of my heroes as well. I was like, this has made my week. Like,
that's awesome.
I will be glowing for the rest of the week knowing that they have gone to this much effort. It's just unbelievably cool. So
we did create some custom backs too. Or if anybody does print them out, we do have custom backs.
So you can get around.
Oh yeah, I saw the
like
custom backs. Where was it? Where did I see it before? Where was it?
You're not going to see any of them in here.
No, there is one on here. There is one on here. Here it is.
Oh yeah, there we go. Let's go.
There it is. Nice. Yeah, I saw it before.
And Dungeon put that together. Those in the background you can see, those are all scenes from Chrono Trigger, so really well put together back.
Is the giant ship they're in, is that the time travel machine that they
Epic.
go through? Yeah, Epic.
Yeah.
Epic. Yeah, that's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, love it. And that'll help too, because then the printers sometimes get a bit funny if you're printing.
Yeah, we did a test print already, and we got it through. So now it's just when we can, finish this up and they're in a good enough quality to send them off.
Cool. Awesome. Well, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you very much for being part of this. Is there anything that I didn't ask that you wanted to bring up? Anything I missed that you wanted to highlight?
Obviously we could talk about the characters all day, but we're just excited for people to play them. I encourage people to go out and play them. We'd be super grateful. And then I do want to point out one last thing, which I think is fun. You may have read of it, but the final sort of boss in Chrono Trigger is this horrible parasitic planet-eating creature called Lavos, and he's nowhere in the game, right? Yeah. And Wes was like, we don't really have Lavos in here. How are we going to get him in without an encounter? So I went back and I remade Standard 3 with a bunch of Lavos art. So if you're going to play our stuff, there's a custom Standard 3 here that I think is a lot of fun. If you want to feel the presence of Lavos in your game, we got all his iterations in there.
So that's what Lavos looks like. Right.
Yeah, he's got 3 stages.
Yeah, he's got
sort of worm into the core. Yeah, So the outside shell, the inner green guy, and then Magus and his cronies are there too, because what could be better for Evil Alliance?
Is that part of the 30th anniversary art? That's really cool art.
I can't remember where that one came from, but it was one of those things that caught my eye early on, and then Evil Alliance was the perfect opportunity to do it. So if you want maximum Chrono Trigger flavor while you're playing our table, we've got custom resources, reskins, all the power of cards, the Mystic set. They all have Chrono Trigger art on them. Digging Deep is huge for Chrono, but did all these energies just for fun, because the art style of Chrono Trigger is so attractive and so beautiful. And looking at cards is one of the best things about Marvel Champions is the art.
Does she fly? Is there nothing she can't do?
Sort of. She's real acrobatic. So when you're playing Ayla, we ask that you embrace a little abstraction. Right? You're going to see she gets aerial, and she's got aerial cards. She's just high in the air, folks. She's not flying unless she's on a pterodactyl, which she can be. She's
fabulous, and leave her alone. Simple as that. All those reskins are awesome. Just an amazing amount of work. Very, very cool.
The last thing I'll say is just we do want to build these Chrono Trigger campaigns and scenarios. Hopefully we'll try to get that out at some point. We're also got this beginning of 11 decks for Final Fantasy VI characters. So a lot of people, if you're a Chrono Trigger fan, you're probably a Final Fantasy VI fan as well. So we might have 11 more decks coming out at some point.
Jeez. That's a massive undertaking. Yeah, that's unbelievable. Well, I know. Final Fantasy.
Fun stuff.
That's gonna blow people away. Yeah.
I think it'll be pretty great. Yeah, and since we both teach, we've got the summer ahead of us here. It should be a productive period.
Yeah. Which one did you say? Was it 6 or 7?
And it feels a little easier.
6. Yeah. So the
6.
The sprite.
We're looking at 6. Yeah.
Down version, right? Yeah. It's 7's Aerith and Tifa and stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
Even I know that. Cool, awesome. All right, that's amazing. Thank you very much, guys. For being part of the spotlight, but also just being part of the community. It's become a better place with you guys joining it, and the amount of work that you've done is just A grade, just unbelievably cool.
Well, thank you so much. It's so kind, Havoc. Thank you for reaching out. This has been a pleasure.
Awesome. And
thanks a lot. It's fun.
My first ever 3-person one. I think it went all right. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I think it went well.
Yeah, it was good. All right. If you want to check out the Chrono Trigger work that these guys have done, and why wouldn't you? You'd be insane not to. I'll have links to their TTS and G Drive in the description for the video. If you also want to join the Discord community and either show off your own creations or want to learn how to make your own creations, or you just want to just access the incredible database of heroes and scenarios that exist that this community has made, there's enough content here to last you a decade beyond the game itself. It's just amazing stuff, including 20 odd Daredevils. So if that's your thing, there'll be a link to join the community as well, which is awesome. And as always, if you could please like and subscribe, that would be great. Leave a comment, say hello. Absolutely brilliant. Guys, thank you very much for joining. Thank you very much for watching. And stay tuned for the next episode. Take care and bye.